Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Janadaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Hare Gaura Pimanandi, Dayam Vishupad Paramahamsa, Pri Vrajagacharya Stotra Satya Sri Simad Hittavange Sirabai Sarangaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandi Biti Founder Chariots Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jainitai Gaura Pimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada.
Yes.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurindritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhuktale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavanespari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansakalpa Taribhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sridham Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhaviti Naistike. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Charitam Sakala Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyayanam Maha. The Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantara, as the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We continue from 7th canto, chapter 14. Somehow we have to work it out. Today we are doing text number 7. Yes. So that is Canto 7, Chapter 14, entitled Ideal Family Life, text number 7. So some portions we try to translate. Divyam Bhomam Chantariksham Vittam Achutta Nirmitam Tat Sarvam Upayunjana Etat Kuryat Swato Buddha Divyam Bhomam Chantariksham Vitam Achutta Nirmitam Tatsarvam Upayunjana Etat Kuryat Swato Buddha Divyam Bhomam chantariksham vittam achutta nirmitam tat sarvam upayunjana etat kuryat svato buddha devyam bhaumam chantariksham vittam achutta nirmitam tat sarvam upayunjana etat kuryat svato buddha
Divyam bhaumam chantariksham
divyam bhaumam chantariksham
vittam achyuta nirmitam
vittam achutta nirmitam
tat sarvam
tatsarvam upayunjana
etat kuryat svato buddha
etat kuryat svato buddha divyam bhaumam chantariksham vitam achutta nirmitam tatsarvam upayunjana etat kuryat nato buddha divyam bhaumam chantariksham vittam achutta nirmitam tatsarvam upayunjana etat kuryat svato buddha divyam bhaumam chaturiksham chittam achutta nirmitam tatsarvam upayunjana etat kuryat svato buddha divyam easily obtained because of rainfall from the sky. Bhaumam, just in time. Obtained from the mines and the sea. Cha and antariksham, obtained by chance. Vitam, all property. Achyutta nirmitam, created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tat, those things. Sarvam, all. Upayunjana, utilizing for all human society or all living beings. Etat, this, maintaining body and soul together. Kuryat, one must do. Swataha, obtained of itself, without extra endeavor. Buddha, the intelligent person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. The natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life are of three types. Those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, from the mines, the seas, or the fields, and from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. Kindly repeat after me. The natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life
The necessities of life
are of three types.
are of three types.
Those produced from the sky,
Those from the sky,
means in bracket from rainfall.
from rainfall,
Secondly, from the earth,
from the earth,
from the mines,
from the mines,
the seas,
the seas,
or the fields,
or the fields,
and from the atmosphere,
and from the atmosphere,
that which is obtained
that which is obtained
suddenly and unexpectedly.
suddenly.
Report. Very important instruction and very important purport coming up. We living entities in different forms are all children of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita 14:4. Sarva yunishu kunteya murtayad sambhavanti aha ta sambrama mahadyonir aham bija pradapita. Translation. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature, and that I am the seed-giving Father. End of quotation. The Supreme Lord, Krishna, is the Father of all living entities in different species and forms. One who is intelligent can see that all living entities in the 8,400,000 bodily forms are part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are his sons. Everything within the material and spiritual worlds is a property of the Supreme Lord. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. And therefore, everything has a relationship with him. Srila Rupa Goswami says in this regard, Prapanchi Prapanchikatastaya Budhya Hari Sambandhi Vastunaha Mumuk Shubhi Parityago Vairagyam Falgu Kachyate. Translation. This is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:2, text 256. One who rejects anything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is incomplete in his renunciation. End of the quote. Although Mayavadi philosophers say that the material creation is false, actually it is not false. It is factual. But the idea that everything belongs to human society is false. Everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for everything is created by him. All living entities being the Lord's sons, his eternal parts and parcels, have the right to use the Father's property by nature's arrangement. As stated in the Upanishads, Tene chaktena bhunjita magridha kasya swid dhanam. Everyone should be satisfied with the things allotted him by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one should encroach upon another's rights or property. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad annasambhava yajnad bhavati parjanyo jagya karma samudbhava. Translation to text 14 of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties. When food grains are sufficiently produced, both animals and human beings can be nourished without difficulty for their maintenance. This is nature's arrangement. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Everyone is acting under the influence of material nature, and only fools think they can improve upon what God has created. The householders are specifically responsible for seeing that the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are maintained without fighting between men, communities, societies, and nations, or nations. Human society should properly utilize the gifts of God, especially the food grains that grow because of rain falling from the sky. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Jagnad Bhavati Parjanya. So that rainfall will be regulated, humanity should perform yajnas, sacrifices. Yajnas were previously performed with offerings of oblations of ghee and food grains. But in this age, of course, this is no longer possible, for the production of ghee and food grains has diminished because of the sinful life of human society. However, people should take it to Krishna consciousness and chant the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Shastras. Jagyai Sankirtana Prayair Yajanti Hi Sumedashaha. If people throughout the world take to the Krishna consciousness movement and chant the easy sound vibration of the transcendental name and fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there will be no scarcity of rainfall. Consequently, food grains, fruits, and flowers will be properly produced, and all the necessities of life will be easily obtained. Grihastas, or householders, should take to the responsibility of organizing such natural production. It is therefore said, Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovidaha. An intelligent person should try to spread Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, and all the necessities of life will automatically follow. Translation again, the natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life are of three types: those produced from the sky, from rainfall, from the earth, from the mines, the seas, or the fields, and from the atmosphere, that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. Yes. So one of the important points, which is very central and basic, naturally, in the Vedic culture, is that we have no claim to proprietorship. We are not the creators of this material world. We did not create this body. We are therefore, we should see ourselves as like guests in the material world. It's like you go to somebody, you visit some friend or relative, you're a guest. And if you start claiming and thinking that things belong to you, you will not be a guest for a long time. You'll get kicked out. So This is like preliminary to understanding what is being conveyed here. What is being conveyed here is that to the extent that we understand that we are not the proprietors, that we are rather created to ultimately the highest authority. In other words, there are we speak about laws of nature. There are laws, just like in any country. Governments enact different laws, and if one transgresses these laws, then he will be fined, he will be punished. So in a similar way, there are laws of nature that are especially meant to be learned and understood and followed by those in the human form of life. Animals don't know about laws of nature. They just live out their lives. They are on the platform of, we call it animal instinct, isn't it? But those who are fortunate to obtain the human form of life, that's an important instruction in the Shastra. It is very rare to get this human form of life, and therefore we are meant to understand things of a higher nature. We are meant to understand the, we could say, subtle and hidden laws behind nature. So some very specific important instructions are being given here also to householders. Naturally, because this chapter is for householders, ideal family life. And more instructions will be coming actually in the verses to come. So here it mentions how it is meant to be the responsibility of householders to organize society and to produce and to provide, not only for human beings, but actually for all living entities. And Prabhupada, as he often does, he quotes a very essential verse in the Bhagavad Gita in many of his lectures. He will quote this verse and elaborate in different ways. Anabhavanti bhutani parjanyad annasambhava. That there is such a thing as jagya. It's very scientific. Jagya. Jagya, as the verse is mentioning here, all living bodies subsist on food grains. We cannot live without food. And where does food come from? From the market, from the supermarket. In modern day society, people don't realize or understand that actually before it hits the supermarket, somebody's growing that food. And in order for that someone to grow the food, even though he may have the most sophisticated machinery, as we have in modern day society, like tractors and whatnot, if there's no rain, your machine is useless, isn't it? Krishna has already given the perfect machine, just like our body is also described yantra. Our body is a machine. Everything material is like can be considered as machine. So the perfect machine or the perfect yantra, actually in connection with rain and in connection with production of food, are cows. Of course, they're not just a machine. They are they have a very special position because within the category of animals, they are that particular animal. After leaving its body, by the laws of nature, attains a human body. That is part of the evolutionary process. Darwin's evolutionary process, as Prabhupada would explain, is incomplete. We were reading a few days back how Darwin's idea is that we go, evolution, we go up. Prabhupada is telling that Darwin, he missed out and did not understand that not only can we go up, but we can also go down. There's evolution and devolution. And our evolution going upwards or our devolution going downwards will depend on our present activities, isn't it? Will depend on our consciousness and activities. So Prabhupada makes reference yesterday, the day before, we were talking about yesterday, I think, the gifts of nature, natural gifts of nature. Prabhupada is referring to this also, isn't it? That the Lord has given to humanity these natural gifts. Three we were mentioning, as spoken by Grandfather Bhishmadev, and Prabhupada is also, without mentioning this particular instruction by Grandfather Bhishmadev, is telling the same thing here. So these gifts of nature, namely cows, land, and knowledge. These gifts especially have been given to for human society, for human beings who are developed in consciousness to properly utilize them. If one is not developed in consciousness, one will not know how to properly utilize these natural gifts of nature. One will not understand, as we have been trying to point out, and as Prabhupada is pointing out in this particular purport as well, that part of what is described in the Bhagavad Gita as prescribed duties. Here it clearly explains how there's a direct link, a direct connection, that food grains, Prabhupada would say, first is food. If you don't have food, you will not be able to attend Bhagavatam class for many days. Few days maybe. If one practices during Chaturmas, he may attend for a few days, but after, it means we cannot live without food because we are having this machine. This machine requires a minimum amount of food. So here it says that food grains are sometimes in India or in other countries, they have drought, no rain. What happens? No rain, no food. No grain. No rain, no grain. No rain, no grain, and then means starvation. People die, isn't it? And rains. So grains come from rains, and rains come from what? Jagya. Yeah. And Jagya comes from prescribed duties. Rains are produced by performance of Jagya, and Jagya is born of prescribed duties. It's very important to understand. Jagya is born from prescribed duties. So Jagya is not only putting ghee on the fire. Prescribed duties, this is Jagya is sacrifice. Sacrifice means something that is performed for the pleasure and satisfaction of someone else. So therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita has delineated what are the prescribed duties for humanity. That is also elaborated in the Bhagavatam. And the prescribed duties for mankind is intimately, closely connected with land and cows, as well as the cultivation of knowledge, as well as raising our consciousness from what to what? From animal consciousness to human consciousness. That's one beginning level. From animal consciousness to human consciousness. And then from human consciousness to spiritual consciousness. Isn't it? Modern day society mostly is very much on the level of animal consciousness. As Prabhupada would explain, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, that is animal consciousness. And when our consciousness doesn't go beyond that, then, as mentioned in the Shastra, Dvipada Pashu, two-legged animals. Modern day society, in our modern day civilization, we have an overabundance of Dvipada Pashu. Majority of people are living like animals, because they're totally, fully, completely, only on the bodily platform. So here it also mentions how, as I was reading this, I was thinking about our project here, avoiding over endeavor, and doing things as naturally as possible, and and learning to accept things as they are, we can say, sent by providence. Otherwise, we tend to get into all kinds of over endeavors, which are very detrimental in many ways, because they create all kinds of pressures on our own self and then on others also. Because then we have all kinds of expectations from others, and it creates an artificial, unnatural kind of situation. So, yeah, there were 2 points, especially in the purport. Let's see. That as I was reading, were coming out. Yes, this line here. The householders are specifically responsible for seeing that the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are maintained. Of course, laws means dharma, isn't it? Dharma can be translated as law. Following dharma means following the laws, natural laws. And the laws, or dharma, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, they are ordained or given, created by the Lord, without fighting between men, communities, societies, and nations. Yes. So, yes, at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada repeats again how grihastas or householders should take the responsibility of organizing such natural production. So, what is natural production? Prabhupada refers to in the purport is production, is beginning with production of food grains. and production of food grains in a natural way. We speak about natural, these days is becoming more commonly known as natural farming. Natural farming. We speak about organic farming, natural farming, Vedic farming. Natural farming is based on what is explained and given in the Shastra. Even so-called material things or material activities that we must perform, we are meant to get directives from the Shastra about everything. What to eat, how to eat, when to eat, when to sleep, how to sleep, in full detail, up to the point of sex life. When to have sex life, when not to have sex life, isn't it? Because we were reading in previous chapters how in human society, this is Vedic culture, 3 of the 4 ashrams does not allow sex life. In the animal kingdom, things are going on according to nature, according to instinct. As we mentioned a little earlier, in the human form of life, that is different. There is planned, what is called regulation. One's life needs to be regulated. And the essence of that regulation actually is ultimately boils down to sex life. If one can conquer, Prabhupada one time was telling, do you know, somewhere, I forget where he was, but after going to America and, starting the movement, establishing temples, so many disciples. So one time he was asking the devotees, do you know why people offer obeisances to me? Do you know why people offer me respect? It's not just because I'm an old man. Normally although that's disappearing in modern day, but that's an important aspect of the Vedic culture, isn't it? To give respect to elders. Yeah. We can appreciate or understand the culture by how much the young generation give attention, give service, give respect. That's one of the major problems, how in villages, you must have read that also, young people are no longer in the villages. And when they come, they have little time. And so we have mainly older people in the villages, uncared for. And that's increasing more and more. As I was doing this survey with other devotees, we were hearing directly, and we could see also how, this farmer's son, he is in Australia or he's in America, and occasionally they get a phone call and maybe a little bit of money, to keep things going and maybe to build a new house or something in the village. But the presence of young people is critically failing in modern day society. Anyways, coming back to Prabhupada, Prabhupada was telling, so was asking this question, why are people offering me respect? So who can tell why? What did nobody could actually respond properly. So then Prabhupada explained, people are giving me respect because I don't have any sex desire. So it means one who has, and Prabhupada would explain also, there's 2 types of persons. The majority are in the category of Godas, then there is Goswami. we're either serving or go means senses, means cow also. So either we are Godas, serving our senses, or we become Goswamis, master of the senses. And master of the senses, Goswamis, is not only for those who are carrying a danda. Goswamis, that also we were reading a few days back, householders are also meant to be Goswamis. Swami means actually one who learns about Vairagya. Vairagya. Vairagya Vidya. Vairagya Vidya. We had a small book called Vairagya Vidya many years ago. And that book was not selling very well. No one likes the word Vairagya. So they changed the title, then the book started to sell. Vairagya. Vairagya automatically comes. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagya Jnanam Sayat Ahitukam. Causeless Gyan, knowledge, and causeless detachment will come when we take up the prescribed process, which is rendering devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So I will read. Slipping, he's slipping. I will read again the text. You're fortunate, you'll get to hear the text. And then if there's any comment or question. So this is, let's see here. Yeah, text 7, right? Text 7. Text 7 to chapter 14. The natural products created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be utilized to maintain the bodies and souls of all living entities. The necessities of life are of three types. Those produced from the sky, means from rainfall. Secondly, from the earth, means from the mines, the seas, and the fields, means agriculture. And three, those from the atmosphere, which means that which is obtained suddenly and unexpectedly. So these are very important instructions, very practical also, in terms of how we should live our lives, lead our lives, so that we can be more easily meeting our different necessities of life, and so that ultimately we can be happy. Prabhupada explains in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that one who actually cultivates this knowledge, he attains to my nature, and can also be happy even in this material world, isn't it? Although the material world is dukkhalayam shasvatam, when one practices Krishna consciousness, when one cultivates transcendental knowledge, then what happens? Although within the material world, he is not actually in the material world, isn't it? Consciousness is not affected like those who are totally on the bodily platform of life. So many more things could be said here. Any comment or question on this topic?
The gift that has come from Antariksha.
Gifts that come from
Antariksha. Sky.
from the sky. It means things that come from providence, things that come unexpectedly.
Rains, natural.
Huh?
Rains will give the food. Food will be natural.
Yeah, well, the first one I mentioned here is rains, and then and then from the mines or from the land, natural resources of nature, and then the third category is things that just unexpectedly happen. Like sometimes somebody makes a gift to you. Some benevolent person, if you happen to be in a distressed situation, he'll maybe gift you some money, or do something totally, unplanned for, unexpected. So there are so many things actually that fall in that category because it's all based on karma, of course, isn't it? Um, due to uh, two things actually. One is karma. We get all kinds of reactions based on karma, and the other is based on the mercy of the Lord, or the mercy of His devotees, isn't it? Um,
Human society should properly utilize the gifts of God, especially the food grains that grow because of rain falling from the sky.
yes.
Food is also a gift.
Food is. We were discussing about the cows being the first gift, land being the second gift. Land means food, isn't it? Yeah. Land means food. Land means all types of. Here it mentions, like in mines, uh, one would get all kinds of metals and uh, minerals, all kinds of jewels, like in the sea, pearls in the sea, herbs naturally, like. Huh.
Production of all everything.
Mother Earth is a mine of wealth. She's keeping within her body, within the soil, all kinds of seeds, and then when the situation is favorable, she happily produces. When things are not favorable, as the situation is today, when we simple but most important example, when we deal with the soil as we are doing in modern day society, by polluting the soil, by having heavy machinery like tractors that are actually not good for the soil, that are destroying the soil in so many ways, also because of our poor fund of knowledge. We don't understand the whole. That's why brahmanas are necessary. Our shastras, we have different scriptures that are written by sages that explain the science of farming, the science of agriculture, the science of cattle raising, the science of looking after animals, etc., like that. These are all sciences, and we are missing out, even ourselves as devotees, by not, including these subject matters as part of curriculum. In the name of, well, no, I just want to practice bhakti. Prabhu. Huh? Ananya bhakti, yeah. Well, that is, this is a faulty understanding. Yes.
Actually, I have a little comment on today's class and yesterday's class.
You have a comment on today's?
Beautiful.
Ah.
And we have already seen long time.
Your comment is beautiful, or?
Yeah, related to traditional occupation.
Traditional occupation.
And also a natural gift from nature, from the sky.
Yes.
And actually, recently, before I came here, I visited one devotee who just pensioned from a teacher.
You may visited a devotee in Indonesia.
Yeah, in Bali.
Okay.
So this devotee, after finished, became a teacher and now start farming.
Okay. This devotee became a teacher.
Before was a teacher.
Oh, before was a teacher.
Pension.
Okay. Now he started some farming.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm helping a little bit. So many things was grown up naturally
Okay.
by the rain.
Ah.
So we discover so many different root and grain is grown up by nature.
Okay.
And this root, such as taro root, yeah, which is very delicious and healthy.
Okay. Yes.
And not causing diabetic.
Yes. Yes.
And diabetic patient is recommended to consume this kind of food.
Okay. Yes.
Which is not very heavy carbon.
Achha. Yes.
So like that. And many type of fruit, like what explained when Lord Krishna was roaming around Govardhan hills, such type of berries, fruit,
Achha.
which when the children long time ago they use and they are very happy to eat this kind of thing, which is our grandfather now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they having not that kind of problem.
Yes. Yes.
Because they consume of this kind of herb, fruit.
Natural fruits.
Yeah.
Natural fruits. Yes.
And it is available here. Yesterday I saw the goat is eating that kind of fruit.
The
Which
goats.
is very expensive in the supermarket.
Goats are eating?
Goat.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Goats are eating and humans are not known to do.
So many things.
Goats are very happy.
So many nature gifts like that we're not aware.
Correct. Yes.
And traditional occupation is also not taken up.
Yes. That was one of the questions in our survey. Do you believe, and I was asking 10 questions to different people in village, to farmers, leaders. So one of the questions is, what are your thoughts? What do you think about traditional occupation or traditional technology?
Mhm.
Traditional technology, which is connected with traditional occupation. Yeah, your point is very correct. That because of our artificial way of living, we have abandoned many natural ways of doing things, and we have also we have and we continue to actually offend Mother Nature by exploiting her in so many horrible ways, and therefore she is retracting. But just like a mother will always she's eager to reciprocate. She especially reciprocates with a child who becomes more dependent on her. Isn't it? Like in a family, sometimes one of the children will be maybe diseased or something. Mother will give more attention to that particular child. So yes, part of this whole ideology of Varnasrama Dharma is to Prabhupada uses the word to revert, to come back to what is more natural, especially in the matter of working with the land in terms of agriculture. Similar experience, one devotee from Ahmedabad, Vishnunam, who's in Vrindavan right now, was mentioning that after he got one of our devotees visiting and teaching about like natural farming and how it is essential, and Dr. Srikumar, Dr. Srikumar, who's him and his wife are allopathic doctors. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, homeopathic doctors, yeah, and very familiar. They've been studying about cows, about land, and because they're devotees, they understand that very intimate, close connection. So they started grazing, planned grazing, holistic management. And he was surprised. He was telling me sometime back, he was surprised to see that in the area where the cows were spending time, all kinds of things were coming out from the land. They were just waiting there because the situation was not favorable, isn't it? So just like we read in the Bhagavad Gita, ye etam mam prapadyanti tam stataiva bhajami aham. Krishna reciprocates according to our activities, according to our desires, according to our what we are doing. So in a similar way, nature reciprocates according to how we naturally care for her, protect her, like that. So yeah, that's a good point.
Actually, Prabhupada is also writing here. Yagnas were previously performed with offerings of oblations of ghee and food grains, but in this age, of course, this is no longer possible. For the production of ghee and food grains has diminished because of the sinful life of human society.
Yes. That can be changed if we stop our sinful activities, if we adopt the recommended processes that are given in the Shastra, especially in the matter of production of food. And here specifically it is mentioning how this is particularly the responsibilities of householders, of grihastas. Prabhupada specifically mentioned they should take charge, they should manage, they should organize, and they should show by personal example, isn't it? Yeah.
So if someone is progressing in the devotion, so that means his heart will be purified and his heart will become so soft, and he should be more and more sensitive to all the living entities and not committing any sinful things even for anyone.
Yes.
So that means anajani vritti. Actually, we say that means kleshagni and subhada. These are the two symptoms of the sadhana bhakti. So these two should happen. Kleshagni means purification of the heart.
Right.
All anurtas. So then, if we are progressing in the devotion really, so that means we have to be more and more sensitive to all the nature and everything.
If we are progressing in spiritual life, in devotional service in particular, your point is that we should be more sensitive to all other living entities. Correct. Yes, absolutely.
We should respect their dharma, the functions, and one should be free from the sinful life. And
yes, we cannot develop this kind of consciousness or understanding unless we come to the mode of goodness, which is the minimum, which is the beginning. So Bhagavatam in the second chapter of the first canto speaks about how to come to the level of evam prasanamanaso, where the mind is peaceful, because the mind is in the mode of goodness, not afflicted by the influence of rajas and tamas. And then in that mode of goodness, one can nicely understand about transcendental subject matter, and one can nicely engage in devotional activities. And by those pure, proper, purified activities of devotional service, the Lord will reciprocate. Bhagavat bhakti yogataha Bhagavat tattva vijnanam. Bhagavat tattva vijnanam, most important, the Lord will reciprocate by helping us understand more and more. Because of our activities, the Lord reciprocates in that way. Yeah.
that's why Srila Prabhupada also, after preaching in the West, immediately in 1966, he started the West Virginia project, farm project. So separate the devotees from the mingling with the sinful people and working for the sinful people. So that's
Yes, Prabhupada started the new Vrindavan in the early days for showing. I mean, he specifically chose the word Vrindavan because Vrindavan village is our model. This is Krishna's way of showing us how we should be living, and therefore Prabhupada instructed, make like Vrindavan everywhere. Make all the villages of India and all the villages of the world like Vrindavan, where everyone is giving proper care and attention to these three gifts of nature. The cows, because in Vrindavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, he spends most of his time with the cows. So cows are important. Cows are essential. Cows and the land, because abundance of food was being produced. And then knowledge, the highest knowledge, the perfection of knowledge, which is the development of Krishna consciousness, is especially demonstrated by the Brajavasis in the different rasas. That's a whole science and a whole big topic. So yes, if we live properly materially, that will help us to live properly spiritually, isn't it? Yeah. If we are clean, for example, if we practice this quality of suchi, saucham, satyam daya tapa saucham, one of the pillars of dharma, then by being externally clean, this helps us also to become internally clean. I think we have to close for now. Jai Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Pimanandi. Things don't happen by themselves.